Chums, welcome back to the Long Overdue podcast. I'm your host once again, but this time we're not joined by the illustrious Mr. Roars. We are joined by my younger sister, the distinguished archaeologist and co-author of a paper called Archaeo Gaming, the glorious Frankie, as she likes to be known as. Say hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. I couldn't get Mr. Roars, but so I had to choose my younger sister because I had no other friends. But at the moment, I'm just seeing half of Frankie's face. Yeah, let's sort of lower it down. I know I'm going to put an avatar over it, but I'm just like looking at your teeth at the moment. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, we're back. It's been long overdue, but that's because of illnesses, work, and not having time to record a podcast. And just sometimes we just forget. We're getting very lazy in our old age. But yeah, I thought I'd rope you in and we can talk a bit about what we've been playing recently because you've been playing more games than I have. We would
Yeah,
like to just discuss the two big releases that happened last year. I believe,
yeah.
yeah. So we had Baldur's Gate 3 and we also had Hogwarts Legacy, both classes RPGs. But as you've completed Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm close to completing it, and you're also quite deep you're in the second chapter of Baldur's Gate 3. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
both classes RPGs both got critical acclaim. Obviously, with the controversy over the author of Harry Potter, the game Hogwarts Legacy hasn't got the acclaim and awards, and some thought it should have, which I myself think it should have won some awards. It did win some awards, but not on the big one, the gaming awards. But yeah, we're just gonna talk about the games and the experiences and what makes Baldur's Gate better experience as an RPG than say Hogwarts Legacy, which we both enjoyed. It's a good game. It's made both are high quality games, but for Hogwarts Legacy to be classed as an RPG, I think is a little bit of a stretch. So let's just start with which game at the moment do you prefer?
Um, that's it's not a simple question to
Come
answer.
down a bit again. I'm just getting your teeth.
It's not a simple question to answer, but I reckon 100% Baldur's Gate 3 is the better game, and that is purely objectively. I did really enjoy Hogwarts Legacy, but I think it struggled a lot to keep up with those RPG elements, which
Okay.
I found quite lacking, especially when you go into the game thinking you're going to play an RPG. It didn't hit the right notes for me.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I just noticed my mic volume was a bit low, so I've just increased it. But yeah, that's why you couldn't hear my mic might be a bit low. This Zoom tends to reset all your settings after a while if you don't use it. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I thought Hogwarts Legacy is a good game, really good, made with love. Attention to detail is fantastic. The attention to the lore is really good as well. It does actually feel like you're in the wizarding world, but in terms of like RPG, it kind of feels more like a action game more than RPG with smidgen of RPG elements, which is a shame because um if the world lends itself to being a full RPG, it will be something like Harry Potter, the world. I would have liked more sort of, I don't know, like going to class, actually like choices mattering and stuff like that. The level progression, it's good, but obviously with like open world games, it suffers from
Yeah.
a bit of faff in it.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct on the
Thank you.
lore and the world and everything like that. But I think that's what makes it successful. I think what makes Hogwarts Legacy good is because it's a Harry Potter game. And I reckon
Mm-hmm.
if it was not a Harry Potter game, it wouldn't be a great game. And I say that lovingly because the main storyline and everything, with Ranrock, I'm not going to say any spoilers, but the main storyline didn't hold me. And I think the only reason I kept playing was because it was Harry Potter. It was in Hogwarts. And the customizing your character and stuff like that. But as a game on its own, I don't think it holds up.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I don't want. We're not bashing the game. Obviously, it's a good game, and it sold a absolute metric ton of copies, and people do love it, and rightfully so. But comparing it to Baldur's Gate, the other big RPG that got released, it doesn't really sort of hold up as terms of like a meaningful RPG experience. I mean, I haven't played as much Baldur's Gate as you have, but I've already noticed that the sort of difference in terms of like choice and consequence in Baldur's Gate. Obviously, it's a different combat system. Hogwarts is very action orientated, very fast, and obviously Baldur's Gate is based on a tabletop game RPG, Wizards of the Coast, and yeah, so it's all dice roll, very more strategic, and obviously another thing, you have a party with you which you get to control. In Hogwarts Legacy, it's just the player character. I know in some RPGs like The Witcher, you normally just play as Geralt, but in the RPG games we always like to recruit NPCs. Obviously, we're big fans of old school sort of BioWare, and we've been looking for something to sort of get that scratch, that itch that we've been feeling, because since like what Dragon Age Inquisition was the last RPG. No, it wasn't. It was Andromeda. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
don't count that one,
yeah, I mean, like,
ignore that existence.
yeah, we've just been waiting for that RPG, and obviously, I've been playing like JRPGs, but there's nothing quite like a good sort of BioWare experience when they're on form. It's really good, but and obviously, Baldur's Gate has really it sort of did state that Dragon Age Origins was a inspiration for it, and you can sort of tell with how the characters are written and everything like that. But yeah, in terms of like characters, it just doesn't compare to Hogwarts. Doesn't compare. I mean, some of the characters are really well written, but it's all sort of more scripted. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, like as I said before, the narrative is set. It's a very set game, and you don't really get much choice to kind of really delve into these characters' backstories, and you don't really get to know much above what the game wants to tell you. Whereas in like a game like Baldur's Gate or even Dragon Age Origins, you can really get to know these characters, because not only are they with you in your in camp, but the game wants you to kind of delve into their characters and understand their backstories. Whereas Hogwarts Legacy is like, well, we need this character to be like this, so you need to go here and you need to do this in order for this to happen. But it doesn't give you any choice about really understanding why they're doing it. I mean, for example, I'll try and do this without spoilers, but you've got a very strong, I would say, main character in Hogwarts Legacy called Sebastian. And apart from really knowing like the surface of that character, you don't really understand much about like his history with his sister, or the history with his parents. You just know they died. And whereas with something like Baldur's Gate, it kind of like it makes you want to know more about these characters by the way the game is structured. So I have to admit, Hogwarts Legacy was a great game. I remember us discussing it when I was playing it the first time, and we were going how really good this game was. But then you go and play Hogwarts Legacy, afterwards you play Baldur's Gate, and it's just like there's no comparison really. There's no, you wouldn't. Looking back at Hogwarts Legacy, I wouldn't even know I was playing an RPG, because there's so little choice. There's so, apart from choosing your character's face, I mean, there are no narrative options for you to change the story or to get to know the characters.
Yeah, I agree. I think it suffers from not having like a party system in there. and not having more sort of consequences affect the story. Um, I mean, like Harry Potter had his team. He had Hermione and Ron, and obviously he had like other members uh who joined the ensemble later on, like Ginny, and sometimes
Neville.
Neville Longbottom would come along, and Luna Lovegood.
Mm.
So yeah, it kind of like I feel like if they do make a sequel, I really want them to embrace more the RPG sort of side of the story and let your choices have more meaningful consequences. Um, but yeah, like with Baldur's Gate, it's just very well written story. I mean, they take into account like a lot of things that the player could possibly do. I mean, I streamed some last night, and do you remember the bard, the tiefling bard in the
Yeah.
Grove?
Yeah.
If you play as the Dark Urge, which is a bit of a minor spoiler, you kill her when she comes to your camp. You have no control over her, but there's a workaround. If you go to the Grove and sort of sneak up behind her and use non-lethal attack and knock her out, when you next go and sleep at the camp, it's another character that's come in. So you get to save her in a way
By knocking her out.
by knocking her out so she
Yeah.
doesn't turn up at your camp seeking refuge.
Yeah.
Another character takes her place, and obviously you kill her. That's sort of thing, but you get to save that character because she does appear later on in the game. So, and I liked her, so I was like, oh, I just don't want to kill her. And then I knocked her out, and then another one appeared. I was like, oh, so I'm going to kill someone, and you end up killing that character because playing as the Dark Urge, which is an origin character, it does feel like that backstory does feel like that was supposed to be the main character. Obviously, you get to choose your character, your background, but the Dark Urge is like a unique sort of character background, and yeah, so they take that into account. But with Hogwarts Legacy, it's just very, very sort of streamlined sort of experience.
It's very linear as well. It's
Yeah,
very like,
even though it's set in you can go open world. The story
you
is
can
very
go,
linear.
and also, you're going on to what you just said, like with Hogwarts Legacy, I found it with open world, I kind of find them rather tedious after a while.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the narrative being like structured in a way where you can do this first, you can do that first, or go there, like in Baldur's Gate. But I found that Hogwarts Legacy had this beautiful world. Now, that's one thing I will give it. It's a beautiful looking game. But half the time you're running around doing these side quests that, apart from leveling you up, they don't really add anything to the story. And what you were saying about your character, the Dark Urge, killing is it Alfira? I think it's Alfira.
Yeah, you can kill her. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that plays and ties nicely into the main story. Well, not the main story, but like the main narrative, or the narrative that you're going through. Whereas you do all this stuff and you do some really crazy stuff in Hogwarts Legacy, and you kill loads of people. You're just running around killing all these dark wizards and poachers, and everybody's kind of just like, well, yeah, okay, I guess that's fine.
I mean, you get
a mass murderer, or he's a mass murderer.
You get the option. I'll give you that. You do get the option to learn the unforgivable curses. You can refuse to learn it, but they still try and push you to like learn it. But even when you learn it, there's no sort of negative like use of using it in combat or in game at all. You get to use it, and there's no sort of morality like effect. There's nothing really. You just get to use Abracadabra and Imperio and Crucio, and just nothing seems to affect the overall sort of game story. Yeah.
I think that's what I like about Baldur's Gate, because your choices, even like from killing somebody by accident, like even if they're just a side character, it really affects how your party and what carries on to the next story, because things you do affect the story as it goes along. And it kind of, sometimes you're doing side quests in Hogwarts Legacy and you're just kind of like, why am I doing this apart from leveling up? Like,
Mm.
this is so uninteresting. This is so like,
Yeah.
why am I not in class learning spells?
I
Like
mean,
there's a complete.
you do have classes, but it's all scripted sort of thing. I would have liked the option to like sort of if you miss class, you would have got detention.
Yeah.
You would have got like you they set you to do like work homework and stuff, sort of tedious stuff like that, and then you can get graded and stuff like that. Sort of more of an immersive experience.
Well, I think in the beginning, in the first game, where you're just confined to Hogwarts, you do go to a lot of classes. But by like, I don't even know. By like the next season, you're just running around the countryside or the Highlands and not really going to class.
You
There's
had
hardly any
you
classes in the
you had
next.
to mostly learn the spells for story progression as well. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah, but it felt like the gameplay and the story were so disconnected because it was like the gameplay wanted you to learn the unforgivable curses, as you said before, and the
Mm.
gameplay wanted you to, explore and steal things from people's houses. But then the story is saying something else. It's saying, don't do this, don't do that. And then you're kind of like, well, if I don't do those things, I'm actually hindering myself because I'm making the game harder for myself. So which one do I do? And it's just like, well, actually, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters really in the whole game. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of were disappointed by. That the fact is, nothing you really do matters in that game. You don't save anybody. Nobody dies. Nobody, without massive spoilers, if there's like a kind of a good ending and a bad ending, but they all end up the same. You all end up graduating from, I think year 5 and doing your owls or whatever. Nothing changes. Nothing,
Even
no matter what you do, nothing really
even the
affects it.
negative dialogue options doesn't really affect anything as well. They're just like, oh, you're not a very nice person. If you decide to like keep something
Mm.
from an NPC who asks you to go and fetch such and such, and you say, oh, I'm going to keep that, or I want more money, it doesn't really sort of affect anything overall. You still complete the mission. You're just a slight arsehole, but you don't see any change in the character. The character's like a blank sort of characterless in a way. It's no sort of uniqueness to the character apart from just the customization of set character. You can't really play it sort of evil or neutral or chaotic or good.
And yeah, and also it's just like, I guess one thing I had a big, massive problem with Hogwarts Legacy is that I don't know, because I only played female, so I didn't play the male. But even when you're choosing like the bad options, she sounds like she's polite anyway. She sounds like a nice person. She's like, oh, I just keep these for myself. I'm so
Mm.
sorry about that. And it's kind of like, well, what is the point? What are the point of these
Mm-hmm.
optional or different choices if they end up not changing the character or affecting the character whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're just shitting on the game, but we're not. Like, still a really good game, but I just don't think it should have been, and it should be classed as an RPG. Obviously, as leveling up, you get to learn and level up your spells, has that sort of thing. The oh god, the inventory was absolute dog shit. You had to
Mm-hmm.
complete Merlin trials to increase your capacity to carry stuff, and like the items you got were just not very good after a while. Every time you found a new item, it wasn't as good. Like the stats were lower than what you have, even in later on in the game. And obviously, like you fill up your inventory so quickly, you have to go and sell everything or just destroy
Mm.
it. There's no place to store your sort of what you found in like in storage, even though you have the room
Have a room
requirements.
of requirement.
You
Yeah,
would
I always
think there
found
would be
that
a
really
storage area. And
weird.
another thing, like choosing your house doesn't really affect you as well. Like you get some unique, you get one like unique sort of story based on the house you chose. Like I think if you chose Slytherin, you get to go to Azkaban for a bit. I
Mm.
think.
No, I think that's Hufflepuff.
Is that? Oh well. something
It's
like that.
Hufflepuff. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I did the Slytherin one, and it's you don't go to Azkaban.
Okay, then so yeah, so the houses you choose don't really affect it. It's just seems like no matter what house you went into, it doesn't sort of alter anything. I mean, there's no negative connotations being in Slytherin. So, like in the books, it's like every dark wizard came from Slytherin,
Mm.
which is not true because obviously there have
Mm.
been some bad ones in other houses. But yeah, it just didn't really. I would have liked if you chose Slytherin for or any other the house, you would have got sort of buff or a stat
Mm.
increase for choosing that, like cunning or something like that, obviously, or brave or like courage for like you choosing like
Mm.
or charisma buff. But I don't even think you got charisma or none of that's in the game, like charisma
Mm.
buffs and all that. Um, obviously, like with Baldur's Gate is like probably one of the best sort of storytelling RPGs you can get out there because every choice does matter. And obviously, when you're rolling dice, because they use dice, you want to get a good outcome. So that obviously a lot of people save scum where they just save
Mm.
while they're rolling so they can get the better outcome. Obviously,
Mm.
like if you're playing it pure, you'll just let the dice determine what happens. But obviously, you don't want to be blocked out of certain knowledge and stuff. So we do tend to like roll the dice to get that beat this the like the stat to get the correct outcome. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably like not explaining myself well, but if you got like a 10, you need to roll like a 10 or higher to get
Mm.
that. But like obviously like we've rolled like threes and fours, and even with our like buffs, it just we sometimes have to reload. But that's good though. Like we just like if you just played it purely, I was sure that things could be like a lot different. But you also can tackle the game a lot different. It's not open world. It's just like
Thank God.
each act is a big. It's like a pretty big area, not too big,
Mm.
but it's a fairly big area with like missions, story missions, companion missions, and side
And
quests. And
I feel like the side quests made sense as well because there are a lot of there's a number of side quests in Baldur's Gate, but they all feel like they tie together quite nicely. It doesn't feel like you're doing something for somebody over there that has nothing to do with what you're doing over here. So like for example, I'll take a very simple one. It's and it's hopefully won't have too many spoilers, and I'll try and make it minor as I can. But in Act 2, when you're in the Shadowlands, you can meet this like shadow boy, and I was just thinking, oh, this is really random, just meeting the shadow boy, and then you end up like fighting the shadows or whatever, and you end up killing mummy and daddy.
mm,
And then I just thought that was really random. I sort of like maybe I would have picked up that side, that quest in the last night in or something like that. But it turns out that boy is part of a bigger thing. It's part he's a main storyline within one of the side
mm,
characters. And you have to go back there and kind of rescue him with the side character. And that
mm,
has an overall effect on the Shadowlands. But
mm,
in Hogwarts Legacy, you're kind of going, oh, can you kill that those
mm,
dark wizards over there because they stole something from our village, which has nothing to
mm,
do with anything. So
mm,
what I really liked was the side quests. And I had a problem with this in Inquisition as well, because of Inquisition, there was so
mm,
many like random side quests that meant nothing. And you just kind of felt like a slog. It's like you didn't
mm,
really want to do them. You just did them because you had to level up.
mm,
Where I really love the fact in Baldur's Gate, you can do side quests and they actually make the narrative richer and they make these characters more interesting and
mm,
it makes you understand the characters more.
mm. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just I mean, you can end up killing like NPCs. You lose that story. You lose that quest progression. You know.
Mm.
So
And
like,
yeah,
yeah,
no, it's and what I was going to say is also like you can think you're doing the right thing because that's what I did when I was at the last night and I was like, is this supposed to happen? And I was like, I feel like this is not supposed to happen. And I told you about it offline. I was like, so I went back because I felt like this was wrong. And I was like, no, well, it can happen and you can progress the story with it anyway. But if you want a morally good story, you need to do this. So
mm,
I went back and redid it all.
mm,
And that's what I love, you know, that really bad thing can happen. It can mess up what
yeah,
happens later on in the game.
yeah. So overall, like, yeah, Baldur's Gate is a better RPG. Is it a better game? Like in terms of
Yes,
like just like forget about RPG, forget about all that. Is it just a better game?
yes.
Yeah.
And the reason I would say that is because the narrative, Hogwarts Legacy would have been definitely a 10 out of 10 minus all the, you know, negative things about
Mm-hmm.
removal RPG elements, but the storyline wasn't that great. I mean, I couldn't give a flying crap about Ranrock. Like this goblin,
Mm,
who is he? Why is he so angry? Oh, because some wizard slapped him once. It's like, okay, you know, he
mm,
didn't make a very interesting villain to me.
mm-hmm.
And because you hardly bump into him, you hardly know anything about him. He just becomes like a an avatar for just having a big battle at the end. There's no real understanding of him as a villain. But Baldur's Gate, it doesn't. I mean, I haven't finished the game completely, but the main villain, I don't really care about, because actually what I care about is getting my characters through this unscathed, because the characters are so interesting. Um, and I I care for them as a, you know, as my main character, and I want to see them go through. I didn't care about half of the characters in Hogwarts Legacy, and I think that's just my personal opinion, because
Mm.
both of us really like having parties and getting to know characters and
And a
stuff
bit
like
of
that,
romance as well wouldn't
and
go
a bit of
amiss.
romance. Yeah,
Yeah, I know they're 15, but you know, you can still have like romantic obviously like Baldur's Gate is very a very horny game. Obviously you can have like you can choose to have it there. I mean, you don't necessarily have to pursue a romance, but as a 15-year-old, that's not, you know, we had boyfriends and girlfriends in when we were 15. Well, yeah, but you know, you can. So I would like that option to do it. They do it in JRPGs when the kids are like 16, so why not for Western games?
100%. I think one of the things also about Hogwarts Legacy is that you just don't really you don't get to know them that well.
Mm-hmm.
And having a romance, I mean, I'm not even a full-blown romance, just like maybe like, you know, what Harry was experiencing in Goblet of Fire when he had a crush on Cho Chang and wanted to ask her to the ball. Something
Mm-hmm.
along those lines would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I would have wanted. But you just don't get to know these characters enough to really feel sympathy or empathy for what they're going through.
Yeah,
Especially when you compare it to games like Baldur's Gate, where you do.
yeah. So yeah, so this year we said this is going to be a short one. We just wanted to talk about the games that we those two games that we've been playing, and plus they were the two big games of 2023. So yeah, like overall, yeah, Baldur's Gate is by far the better game, regardless of it being an RPG. I think even if they weren't, it'd still be better. But yeah, we still love Harry Potter. The Hogwarts Legacy, I still give it a good solid 8 out of 10. Baldur's Gate is probably for me at the moment about the same, but I've only still in Act One. But yeah, I think that will. I know this is going to be a short one. We're going to get back into the swing of things. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. Unless you want anything else to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at the moment, being in Act Two, Baldur's Gate is a solid, not 10 out of 10 for me.
10, 10 out of 10.
100% 10 out of 10. I think it reminds me so much of one of my favorite games, Dragon Age Origins,
Mm-hmm.
um, with a little bit more kind of options to do other things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think Hogwarts Legacy, the pros are it's a beautiful game. The combat system is amazing. The combat is so easy flowing, and it's Harry Potter, so of course I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the side characters are really fun. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
are a little bit
Mm-hmm.
boring, but apart, I think it would have been a good 10 out of 10 if they just made it into just an action game.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. Thanks again for watching. This podcast is available on all streaming platforms apart from Apple Music, because you got to pay for that, and I ain't got time to be paying. So yeah, just all the video versions obviously on YouTube. But yeah, please, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.